the brine pickles because that'll be the quickest one to start and kind of get out of the way. Maybe we'll stick some of those green beans in here too so we can fill up the crock. So the way this works is just a salt water solution, and for every quart of water, you want 2 tablespoons of salt.
And what kind of salt?
Kosher salt or sea salt or pickling salt. You don't want to, well,
Never
you
iodine.
could use iodized salt, but it's not very good for making a good ferment. It'll make an off taste, and then the iodine also inhibits some growth of the good bacteria. So what we're basically doing is in the natural ferment, salt water and the vegetables will all be sitting out for like 3 days, starting to do its thing. I don't exactly know what is happening, but there's a lactobacillus bacteria that is being drawn out naturally from the vegetables. And again, I'm not an expert. If you want to know word for word, I would look at books like Sandor Katz's book. He's got a lot to say about fermentation. It's my disclaimer there.
It's good.
And you want to use cool water. You don't need to use hot water for sort of not in the right place, but.
Strong too. It can do no damage.
This is what they.
Still do.
Okay, so sliced cucumbers in about like 1/8 inch or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to you how you want your, like the ones that we were having today were, oops, I don't want to do that right now, were probably sliced a little bit thinner. So it depends on what kind of, pickle you really want. So we can add anything to our crock as far as seasonings. We could put in some of these parsley. That'd be great. How about a couple cayenne peppers? We've got some peppercorn. Just throw some of that in there.
So the cayenne peppers don't have to be cut up; they can just be in as is.
I think so. I think if you want to cut them up, it'll probably
make it hotter.
Make it hotter. Then you'll have sort of like a fermented. I don't know. You tasted it. I don't know how hot it was.
Oh, was there
Yeah,
a pickle?
it was hot.
Today?
Yeah, and I think it gives people the option to not.
I'll take a couple of those garlic cloves. We'll stick those in there. And same thing.
Whole garlic cloves.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Freestyle pickling.
So what are the other things that you could put in here? There must be a
You
huge
can put.
list.
I made some with cilantro. You can put dill in here. Any kind of herbs you want. You could put. I put horseradish leaves, grape leaves. They say will, help keep crispness. I don't know exactly what's in the grape leaves that does that, but you could put some mustard seed.
So certain
Any
things
kind of flavors.
retain their flavor better. Like, I don't know. There's certain herbs.
Well, dill certainly is really strong, and that's the sort of like the quintessential pickle flavor. But I think anything really. I mean, parsley's probably not going to be too strong. It'll probably make sort of just like a fresh, herby kind of taste. But other than that, I mean, the saltiness, it'll kind of just be like a salty cucumber. You don't really, if it's just salt and water. Yeah.
Is that what's in the brine?
This is something different.
Oh, right.
Yeah. This is a vinegar and water and some herbs that was left over from another So once you have whatever you want, your herbs in there, then we can start putting the cucumbers. And while you're doing that in there, you get all these already got these. Stick those in
Maybe
there.
sliced up like a-
Are these a certain type of cucumber, or do you use whatever?
Oh, I was slicing them like
No, she's got something different.
like Amy's.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. All the rest of them
Yeah,
are like that.
does it make much difference between so-called
Tomatoes.
pickling cucumbers versus slicing cucumbers when you buy the seeds? Is there that much difference between
Yes,
the two?
there is. Yeah.
So what are we using right now?
Most of what we are growing are pickling cucumbers. Some of them have gotten too big, so they're not as good. But so like when you go to the grocery store and you slice open like a cucumber that they normally sell, a dark
Right.
green, pretty thick skin.
Yeah.
When you open it up, the seeds are kind of big. It's very light. You can just take out the seeds right away,
Right.
kind of thing. So that's a slicing cucumber.
Yeah.
And whereas a pickler is generally going to have much smaller seeds. It's going to be more tightly packed. So like when you make the pickle, it's not going to be falling apart so much in the center.
Right.
And the skin's a little bit different too, but I couldn't tell you what's going on there. But
Like
they
is-
are different.
Is
Yeah.
Boothby's blonde a pickling cucumber?
It's like a yellow cucumber. I don't know that variety, but I do know we're growing a yellow one, and it's very bitter,
Oh,
and that
Yeah.
would make a good pickler.
it would make a good pickler. Bitter makes good.
It'd be a better pickler.
Is it round like a big golf ball?
It's shorter. No, it's like
Oh,
not
okay.
shorter, but it's smaller.
So we got these, we bought a couple of plants, we call them yellow cucumbers, and they're turning into like small baseballs.
Those are probably Boothby's blonde. We got them from Zedco.
No, we just got them from a little guy.
So you've got
So I'm gonna put these
dill,
beans right on the top here.
chives, garlic,
I
beans.
mean, they make lemon cubes too.
I'm sorry, that's
What's that?
You got
Thank
all
you.
your
Lemon
herbs,
Yeah, I put them in the
dill,
bottom.
chives,
Started
garlic,
saying yellow, so
pickles,
that's what
beans, and now you're adding salt.
I will add salt water,
Okay.
To cover or enough
Yeah.
to cover, or how do you?
enough to cover. So warm.
Specific salt to water ratio. you use,
Yeah,
or-
so it's two tablespoons of salt to 1 quart of water.
and enough water to cover.
If someone could fill that with colder water, and then just dissolve it.
No, I mean the right point.
Where'd you get the salt from? It's painful too.
It's got a lot of.
Himalayan salt?
It's real salt. It's actually from Utah. That is another recommendation, though, to try to find salt that doesn't have too many minerals in it. This does have quite a few, but it seems to be working fine.
You don't want pickling salt? What's
No,
called
you can
pick-
use
or
pickling
you
salt.
can use pickling salt?
Pickling salt, kosher salt. The only
Okay.
thing you want to be concerned about is like if you get a coarse ground salt. You know, like this is finely
Some
ground.
like kosher salts, coarse.
Yeah. So you'd want to kind of.
Yeah, sometimes just wait.
Essentially weigh it out instead,
Oh, okay.
rather than just do it by a tablespoon.
Right. Yeah, because some kosher salt is like a flake.
Yeah, flakes or like almost like little
With
rocks.
that, you want to weigh it, or you just want
I
to
think you'd wanna
brown that
weigh
up a
it.
bit to make it a finer grain, or does that
You
matter?
could try either.
Okay.
I haven't really used those kinds of salts much.
So what's left to do after you pour the rest of this water in?
So what we need to do, we should find a jar and fill that with water. And we're gonna find a perfect plate.
How large of a jar?
Yep, that's great. We just fill it with water and then we need a lid for it.
Okay. Now these various jars and things, do they just need to be basically clean, or should they be fresh from
For
being
that,
sterilized?
yeah, we don't need any particular.
Do you need to worry? You don't need to worry about being sterile.
For that, no.
That's a weight.
So you're just gonna assume this is cleaned enough already?
Yeah, we'll fill that with water. So what I'm doing is I'm just filling this up until it it gets, it covers all the vegetables.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, that's from the.
This seems really simple and easy.
It's very simple.
Simple but easy.
You also want to kind of think about where your water's coming from too, if you're, in the city.
Clorox or
Yeah,
chlorine or whatever.
chlorine, Clorox. Hopefully there's not Clorox in your water.
Well, it is essentially the same thing.
What would you do in that case? Get some spring water?
Yeah, spring water, distilled water. Boil your water. You could boil it and then let it cool. Does that get rid of chlorine?
Pretty much off gases, I think, by temperature.
I think for chlorine, what you can do is even just leave it out on the counter, and
Oh, it just
it will
evaporates.
yeah. You don't have to boil it for that, but
You should do that all the time so that you're not drinking it.
Okay.
Change the street.
So how does this store? I think store in that.
well, yeah. First, so I've got it so that there's just enough water over the top, and then the next thing we want to do is just find a plate that is not too small and not too big.
Just right.
So that is just right. I want my
And
peppercorns.
so do you ever get your plate stuck in traffic?
Is that too small?
No.
It's got scalloped
If it's-
edges.
Yeah,
it's a
but
little bit
that's
small.
good, isn't it? So you can get it back out. Stick the fork in.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
So you shove it all down.
Keep pushing down
Yeah.
against.
So this is just so everything
This might be
stays
a- Maybe
underwater?
just tiny bit small.
Is that what it's for?
But
So that it doesn't get exposed to air.
Yeah, oh, that's what the water's for, yeah.
And so then this is just acting as a weight to keep the plant down. We might want to get
A bigger
to
plate.
keep the vegetables down. Slightly bigger plate. These beans want to keep poking out of there.
Right.
And then always label your stuff. So we'll get a piece of tape and just label, brine veggies and today's date. And I'll leave it out on the counter, or I might stick this in the garage. I'll put a towel over the top so that no bugs or anything flies inside. And maybe I'll peek at it every day and just see what it looks like. And after about 3 days, take off your weight, remove your plate, and give it a taste. And if it's the taste that you like, you could even taste it after the next day. Maybe that's the kind of pickle that you want. You could leave it up to 5 days if you want, but things might get maybe a little over fermented. They might start to deteriorate a little bit more.
And then you strain it after those few days.
So usually what I do is I will take everything out of the brine that it was made in, and I'll stick it in a new clean jar and put it in the refrigerator, and that will
No water.
slow down the.
Where do you brine it?
Sometimes it depends on what the pickles are looking like. If they've really gone maybe a little too far, then I'll just put them in the jar without anything, so that they won't get any more kind of sopping. You know what I mean? But sometimes last year I was making a lot of whole. We had some just really, really nice cucumbers. And so I was just making whole brined cucumbers. And they were great. And so what I was able to do is take them out of the brine, rinse them off, and then put them in water, or just pack them in jars just as they were, and put them in the fridge, and they were great. to
And how
slice up.
long would they last?
Let's see. Well, they weren't lasting too long because they were so yummy. No.
Yeah, that's the trick.
I think they can, in the refrigerator, you can probably let them last up to 2 months.
So, is there any reason why you don't have an actual lid for the container you use? Like, you want the air to be able to get in there?
It's probably off gases a little bit too.
Well, it is fermenting, so there might be a little bit of bubbling action happening, but I mean, it depends. This is the easiest method. I think there are some crocks, or I've also used just gallon glass jars, and I'll put the lid on that.
So it
and
can
that'll
be done
fine.
in something where it's fully closed or open like this?
Probably don't want it to be closed, like sealed.
Okay, so you don't want it to be like airtight sealing.
Yeah, I
You
don't-
want it to
yeah,
be
it's probably not a
exposed
good idea.
slightly for the fermentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there will the salt water, the brine itself will become cloudy, and that's natural. There may form some mold on the surface, but for the most part, you can just skim that away, and it's fine. You just don't want it on your vegetables necessarily. So that's why you want the anything to be fully submerged underneath the brine. So that's the easiest pickle.